Hello everybody, this is Gregory with 5 Minute Catholic Apologetics, where 5 minutes of your time may get you to the divine. Today I'm going to do an episode on an observation that I saw at a daily mass. Now before we begin, let's start with a prayer. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritui Sancti, Amen. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto, succutura in principio et nunc et semper, et in saecula saeculorum. Amen. As you guys know who have been listening to my channel or watching my channel for some time, I am a traditional Catholic. Typically I go to a parish that is part of the ordinary of the Chair of St. Peter, which is the national diocese. That is, I would say, the easiest way. It's an it's Anglicans that came back to Holy Mother Church and are fully in the bosom of Rome. And I would say that the easiest way to describe it is that they have the trappings of the Latin Mass, but the Mass is in English, okay? But I can't go there for daily Mass because I live too far away from it, so I go to a Novus Ordo parish for daily Mass. So recently, actually this is back in May because I have so many episodes queued here. So not too recently, but recently in May, I went to a daily Mass at, well, just Novus Ordo parish, and I just wanted to make an observation. So there was a group of 8th graders there. So there was a group of 8th graders there, and I was sitting right behind 2 girls who were probably, I don't know, 19, let's say 19. And there was a group of 8th graders. And I was just watching both groups during the Mass. And I just found it great, the juxtaposition between these 2 groups. And albeit there is a 4 or 5 year age difference going on here. But what can I say? So the group of 8th graders, this is from a Catholic school, so they must have come in for Mass. But it wasn't like the weekly Mass where it's the whole school goes, so I'm not exactly sure why they were there. But there were probably about 15 to 20 kids. And I would watch them, and I mean, they were totally checked out of the Mass. Totally checked out. Now, I'm not saying this in a judgmental way, because when I was 14 in a Catholic school, I was probably checked out too. Now, I remember we used to joke, I probably would have been younger than 14, but anytime the priest would hold the host and eat it, we would do the Doritos crunch sound, and then the teacher would get all mad, like, who's doing that? But I mean, they were totally checked out. They weren't listening to the homily. They weren't even like paying attention to the reading. I mean, they were just totally checked out. They were totally checked out. And I get it. Some of it's peer pressure. They don't want to look too religious in front of their friends and so forth. And then when they went to receive the Eucharist, I would say 90% of them received the Eucharist. 2 got a blessing. And I'm thinking, okay, there's a bunch of 14-year-old boys here. I'm pretty sure some of these boys are doing the you know what at that age. And they're like, yeah, I'm receiving the Eucharist. Now, granted, maybe they weren't properly catechized. We have episodes here on that. Maybe they don't know that doing that stuff at that age, it would be a mortal sin. Maybe they don't know. But again, if you're in a Catholic school, I would say, maybe at that age you should already be going through the list of what is perceived to be a mortal sin. And look, I've gone to priests who've told me that sin is not even a real sin because it doesn't satisfy the criteria of what is a mortal sin, because you're not really giving full consent. They would tell you that it's a compulsion. I don't know. I'm not a priest. That's above my pay grade, but I've definitely heard both stories. I'd say 65% of the priests that I've asked about that would say that it is a sin and you should refrain. So you go up there. So these kids, they received the Eucharist. 2 got blessings. Maybe they weren't Catholics, because there are non-Catholics who go to Catholic schools. Maybe they got the blessing, or maybe they were more informed. They're like, yeah, maybe, I am doing this common thing that 14-year-olds do, and I'm not going to use the Eucharist or receive the Eucharist. But the majority of the kids, both female and male, received the Eucharist. None of them bowed. I should say none of them received it on the tongue, and none of them genuflected or got on the ground to receive it on the tongue, because there's no altar rails at this church, clearly, because it's the Novus Ordo church. Now, I juxtapose that group with the 2 girls in front of me who were probably, again, 18, 19. The first thing I noticed about these girls is that they were wearing chapel veils. So, I mean, that's a sign of a trad cath. So go to the episode, what is a trad cath? That's a classic sign of a trad cath. Their dress, they wore like a blouse and then like a skirt that went all the way down to their ankles. The blouse is very modest. Again, another sign of a trad guy. But what I really noticed about them was their posture. I've never seen people with such good posture. I tend to be like, making an observation, which I should be focusing on the sacrifice of the Mass, of course. But I do move around. I'm a mover. Maybe I would be diagnosed with having ADHD or whatever if I was in the schools. But pretty much every kid is diagnosed with something now, because that's the APA's goal is to pathologize everybody so they can get them on drugs. But I do move around and so forth. But these women, these girls, just the whole time, and then kneeling, getting up, just. Sorry about that, my phone was dying out here. So there was something so serene about the way their posture was, and it was just so beautiful. So again, it's the beautiful modesty of the veil, the modest dress, the posture, and then not surprisingly, I already knew this was going to likely happen, but when they went to receive the Eucharist, they received it on the tongue. Now, they did not kneel. I do know people who do kneel when they go up there at a Novus Ordo Mass, and there's no kneelers. Go to the episode like how you can easy litmus test to see if your pastor is not too favorable toward traditional Catholicism, and one of them is ask for a kneeler to have be put there. But I do know women and men who, I know a beautiful like Vietnamese couple, Filipino couple, I see them at the daily Mass, and they'll go up there, they're probably in their 60s, and they go up there and they both kneel next to each other to receive on the tongue. I think that's so beautiful. But these girls received on the tongue, and then they came back. And then after Mass, this church does do the prayer of St. Michael, to their credit. That's beautiful. And to their credit, this church also does some other things that I really like. But after Mass, they stayed and prayed, and it was just very beautiful. And so it was just juxtaposing the two groups. And I'm not necessarily judging the 8th graders, because again, they're young, but I think it does give an indication of, who's more likely to be practicing their faith in 25 years? And the studies are pretty resounding that something like 6% of Catholics who go to a public school will be practicing their faith in 25 years. And it's only like 12% if they go to a Catholic school, for a variety of reasons that we don't have time to discuss here. But I think what's the difference? Like, why are these girls, and again, this is not a controlled study, but why is it that the majority of these 8th grade kids are just not caring about the Mass? They're not properly catechized. They're receiving the Eucharist when they maybe aren't in a state of grace. They don't do the posture, the dress, and I'm not even talking about the chapel veil, but just the dress and all these things. Why is it? Is it because the parents of the two trad girls just instructed them better, or maybe they were more of the kind of secular Catholics, and then they had some sort of experience that made them become trad Catholics? By the way, my phone's pulling out, so post in the comments, like, what is your take on these two juxtapositions of these two groups? I'd really like to hear from you. Please hit the notification button so these episodes come fresh to you and share with others. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.